All right, should be up and running here. Let me go ahead and pull up the symbols that we'll be going over today. We'll be going over the market, of course, and then we'll be going over basically the only things that were played and given numbers for today. Okay. All right, let's go ahead and get started. Good afternoon. This is Ifan from the Strategic Day Trader, and this is your market wrap for October 6th, 2021. Qs up 0.64, SPY up 0.41, and IWM down 0.5%. So IWM showing some relative weakness today in contrast to the relative strength that's been showing the past week or so. Coming into today, we were going to stay bearish as long as we stayed below yesterday's high. We got a little bit of a gap down to start things off, but eventually that gap down did resolve and move up higher. Of course, closing today up on the day. Let's see, where did we end at? 359.95. So we are right above. Yeah, so we did take out yesterday's pivot. So what does that mean for tomorrow? As we discussed yesterday, if we take that out, we're no longer bearish in the short term on the Qs. What we'll be watching for is if we get a daily sell setup. Okay? So are we going to get this kind of retracement again? And then once we break below a previous bar's low, will that trigger the next leg down? We will wait until we have that in place and see what it looks like. Okay, so as we're saying, maybe if there is going to be another bearish move coming, it'll be as we recover a bit back to this declining 20 MA. Maybe we'll get the sell set up in that area like we did last time on the Qs and SPY, but on the hourly here, we are no longer in a downtrend. Okay, we put in a higher low now on the Qs and the SPY. SPY hasn't quite cleared yet. Okay, so still we can use the high from yesterday, that is the pivot. We did erase pretty much most of the move lower from this morning if we take into account kind of where we pivoted from during yesterday afternoon before the close. So yeah, that kind of recovery now above the 20 MA also is not very bearish looking. So on the SPY, yeah, it's hard to be bearish on this. Even though we haven't quite taken out this pivot, I'm going to go ahead and move to neutral on the SPY as well. And then IWM, still neutral. Yeah, so we're pretty neutral across the board. We do have some time frame conflict going on. And so I think that's what's resulting in the little bit of, back and forth here on the Qs and the SPY. So, weekly is into a rising 20 MA there. Qs as well. So they're doing weekly buy setups while the daily is a little bit extended down. Hourly now no longer in a downtrend. Okay, so neutral for tomorrow, and we'll see if we get some more follow through to the bullishness from this afternoon. Okay. All right, let's go over the plays from today, starting with the GEO. Gave you numbers for this in the morning as a breakdown here. It was a breakdown after a sell setup. So weakness there on the go-go. Like I said yesterday, I'm staying away from these high-low plays just for now. Maybe when we start to get closer to earnings season later in the month, I'll be a little bit more aggressive. Haven't been seeing them follow through all that well. So I'm waiting for multiple bar patterns. And so that's why, this wasn't played. This was a pretty decent gap, but it wasn't played at the open. And then waited for this sell setup right here. Okay, we've been talking about sell setups quite a bit there. So this is in a downtrend, gets a retracement, takes out a previous bar's low, and then after triggering the sell setup goes into a base. So that was the play there. So it was entry was I think 56. I think it got filled at 54, and then stop was over 81. Okay, this was held until the last minute of the close, and I was saying, oh yeah, I guess it's not actually down that much. I was going to say this does look like it has potential even to hold overnight, but I wasn't going to. It's gapping down a little bit there, just because it still had a lot of room. Okay. And we discussed this even in the room when it wasn't looking good. So I said, right here, it doesn't look great. It's back to break even here. So I'd been in it from that sell set up there. And so, but I'm not going to, it doesn't look good, but I'm not going to kill it, right? Because, I played it for the big targets. And so I'm looking for at least 2 Rs on the first target. Now, what if I kill it here, right? So I could, maybe lock in, break even if I was going to stick with my original stop, the most that I would lose on this, realistically, unless some crazy news came out or something happened, would be 1 R, right? That's the most I could lose. And then even this, because of the hourly had just finished, actually had brought it down. So I'd be losing closer to half an R. So I was able to lower the stop because this bar had finished and this one was the one that was now active. So I was going to maybe lose half an R, okay? If I am wrong about killing it early, how many Rs could I miss out on? Well, potentially however many it could go to zero, right? If it was a long, then the max theoretical Rs would be infinity. But in the case of a short, well, however many it can drop to get to zero. So from a reward risk standpoint, I don't want to do that too much, right? Now I did it yesterday with the ADTX, and I generally want to not mess around with the management, mess around with the plays, unless they're either failing at the stop or they're at the target, right? So that's kind of something that I may note of today or on the go. And even though yesterday's ADTX, we killed it early and it saved us a little bit, generally I just don't want to do it too much. So that was the plan with the go. Stick with the management on this one. And the nice thing about this, and we'll see another example of what it looks like when something is on its own page, is that you can see where the go ended, right? This was staying weak at the lows here, and the Qs and SPY, what were they doing today, right? After the morning, they started to uptrend. And so that's something I noticed too about the go is that as the Qs had already gone, flat on the day, right? The go was still staying at the lows, showing relative weakness, even though at this point on the 5, it was starting to look like it wanted to go higher. So that's another reason why I really just wanted to stick with it on the go. So on this, I think I did a pretty good job on this. Didn't trade all the nicest and took a lot of time. Of course, it's great when we get things like the Omer, where when they come in, they just come in straight away, right? Or the one that we had yesterday that we played into the afternoon was the COMM, right? Of course, it's great, but they're not all going to do that, right? And it would be great if they did. But yesterday on the COMM, that was nice because as soon as we got in it, we played that breakdown, you immediately see profit. Well, the go today, a lot of back and forth, right? And kind of looked like it would fail on the breakdown a couple times there. So I really had to be patient. But what this was telling me was that it was on its own page. And then, of course, I already know what my management is going to be. So I'm kind of eagerly awaiting the next bar to finish forming so I can lower the stop. Right? So throughout the day, it's not like I'm just ignoring it and not doing any kind of active management. Like I said, after the first couple hours, I know that it was trimmed to about 2/3 of an hour is how much I'd lose. And then over lunch, I knew that it was already locked in to be basically break even at worst. And then as the afternoon went on, and we got to 2 Rs, then, I know that's going to be a locked in winner and a nice winner on the go. So I think, just overall, I did a good job with this and liked how, when you get something, it's showing that it's working, and you can trail it and stick with it until the end of the day. That's what I like to do. Right. So that we didn't really know it was on its own page until the market started moving, and this showed that it was doing its own thing. Some of them you're not going to know, right? Sometimes, like if you played the STX today, which I did consider, and it didn't work because I think it did have a entry right at the open, right? As a 1, 2, 3, I think that's fine. That didn't work. But like I said, I'm trying to hold off the first few minutes and play less 1-minute patterns because I found that they've been pretty tricky. But something like the STX, wasn't really on its own page. Now, on a day like today where the market was gapping down, even though the market ended up closing up on the day, remember, they opened down here at yesterday's low. Okay, so it opened down here. So when the market's gapping down, what else do we know is going to be on its own page? Stuff that's gapping up, okay? Because stuff that's gapping up is gapping up despite the market gapping down. Today was, at one point it was like 1.3%. I think it was less than 1% by the time the Qs opened because it started moving up prior to the open. So the only other thing I gave you numbers for this afternoon was the LXRX. It was about a 10-cent stop, 520 by 510. So basically you got a pullback here. This is a very similar entry, just the bullish version of what we played on the go-go. And so so we got the pullback first, and then the pullback gives you a little bit of a base and play that higher. And similar to the go-go, gives you about 2 Rs here as it kind of gets a nice rally there into the close. Okay. So this one, you know, is going to be on its own page because this is gapping up when the market is gapping down. Okay. So then if the market gets more bullish, this is only going to continue, because if the market had been gapping up, this probably would have been gapping up even more, right? So yeah, so some things, you know, you're not going to know that they're on their own page until after you're in them, but if it's showing you that okay, I can't get off the lows despite how much the Qs and SPY have rallied, right? That's a good sign that you want to stick with it. And then if you're looking for something bullish and then you think the market is actually going to reverse the gap or reverse the trend that it's in, and this thing has been staying strong, those are also good indications that something's on its own page, okay, ignoring the market. All right, and so then those usually will have the most potential, because look at the size of the bar on the go-go, right? And then LXRX, yeah, pretty decent size, especially if you go from low to high. You can see the volume there. That's another indication something is doing its own thing, right? Volume well above average, go-go. Volume a little bit harder to see just because of this day back here. So if we didn't have this day, but of course they're all related, probably some of these buyers from this day are the ones who are selling today. But yeah, still at least a little bit of a pickup from the last couple of days. Okay, and you can really see it. Usually what I use is the 15-minute, because you can see multiple days here, and usually you'll see kind of that big volume spike. Yeah, see right at the open. It's bigger than any 15-minute bar from the last couple of days. So that tells you, okay, something's up. Something's happening today. People are paying attention. So it's not just your everyday scalper day traders, probably people from other time frames. Swing traders are probably making moves, core traders also, to do something with their position. They have business to do. Okay? All right, hopefully that makes sense. Like I said yesterday, quality over quantity. There were definitely pockets today. I didn't think there was a whole lot to do. And so we really just want to focus until we get back into earnings season. There's a lot of gaps, and then we can pick up the aggressiveness. It's just hard that if you start off in the morning struggling a little bit, you know, trying to play everything, and you get down, it's a little bit harder to recover than, say, earnings season when there's a lot of plays basically from open to close. Okay, so just keep that in mind. You want to try to make your shots count. All right. Hope you did well today. We'll be back at it tomorrow. Have a good evening.